Settle into the sleepy mind channel. Tonight, we will explore why dreams so often unfold like stories, and why the sleeping mind may naturally turn memory, emotion, imagination, and experience into strange narratives during the night. If you enjoy calm, educational sleep stories like these, feel free to like and subscribe. More videos are posted weekly. You can also explore the playlists filled with long, relaxing stories about history, science, nature, space, ancient civilizations, and fascinating mysteries designed for all-night listening. For as long as people have remembered dreams, people have noticed something strange about them. Dreams rarely appear as isolated flashes, without shape or sequence. Instead, they often unfold like stories already in progress. A dream may begin in a familiar place before shifting suddenly somewhere impossible. Strange characters may appear carrying emotion, memory, or meaning that feels oddly important while the dream lasts. Conversations happen, journeys unfold, problems emerge, tension builds, events transform. Then, just as suddenly, the entire world disappears when the sleeper wakes. This raises a fascinating question about the human mind itself. Why does the brain dream in stories at all? If dreams were simply random electrical activity, people might expect them to feel scattered and disconnected like loose fragments without order. Yet even the strangest dreams often carry some kind of movement. They may not follow ordinary waking logic, but they still unfold through scenes, emotions, places, characters, and changing events in ways similar to storytelling. Some scientists compare dreaming to a form of nighttime theater created by the mind, while consciousness drifts through sleep. The comparison sounds poetic at first, yet it captures something remarkably accurate about the experience itself. During dreams, the brain can generate entire worlds without external input. Streets appear, houses form, oceans move beneath moonlight, faces emerge from memory, voices speak, landscapes shift. The sleeping mind becomes both audience and author at the same time. Imagine walking into a cinema where the screen somehow responds instantly to every hidden emotion, memory, fear, curiosity, and association inside your own mind. The film changes continuously, without warning. Scenes blend together effortlessly. Time bends, places merge, people transform. Yet somehow the experience still feels like a story while it unfolds. Dreams often behave exactly this way. More importantly, storytelling itself may run far deeper inside the human mind than most people realize. Human beings organize much of waking life through narrative. People remember childhood partly through stories. Families preserve history through stories. Cultures teach values through stories. Even personal identity often feels like an ongoing narrative, connecting past experience to the present moment. Some researchers think this tendency may reveal something fundamental about consciousness itself. The mind may naturally arrange information into sequences because narrative helps organize experience across time. Instead of storing life as disconnected fragments, the brain continuously links moments together into larger structures that feel meaningful and understandable. Dreams may expose this hidden tendency more clearly than waking life does. During the day, ordinary logic and the world constantly guide thought. Physical surroundings provide stability. Social rules shape attention. Sensory information anchors awareness to the external world. During dreaming, many of these stabilizing influences become weaker, while imagination, memory, and emotional association grow more active. Yet despite this loosened structure, the mind still appears to keep building stories. This may explain why dreams can feel strangely coherent even when impossible things happen inside them. A person may dream of walking through a childhood home that somehow opens into a train station floating above the ocean while speaking to someone who has been gone for many years. None of it makes logical sense after waking. Yet during the dream itself, the narrative flow often feels natural enough for the mind to accept without question. Dreams therefore reveal something extraordinary about human thought. Beneath waking awareness may exist a deep narrative engine constantly linking memories, emotions, symbols, expectations, and imagination into flowing sequences across time. The mystery becomes even more interesting when considering how ancient storytelling may connect to dreaming itself. Myths, legends, religious visions, symbolic journeys, impossible transformations, and strange supernatural encounters appear through history. Many ancient stories follow patterns similar to dream logic. Characters transform shape, time moves strangely, ordinary rules disappear. Emotional meaning becomes more important than physical realism. Some scholars cautiously wonder whether dreams may have influenced the earliest forms of storytelling long before written language existed. Ancient people waking from vivid dreams may have shared those experiences beside fires beneath dark night skies, slowly transforming private dream imagery into collective myth and narrative tradition over countless generations. Even modern neuroscience has not fully solved why this happens. Researchers understand much more today about sleep stages, memory systems, emotional processing, and brain activity during dreaming. Yet the deeper mystery remains partly unanswered. Why should consciousness naturally drift towards story at all? Why do imagined events feel meaningful when arranged into narrative form? Why does the mind seem driven to create plots, characters, journeys, fears, reunions, conversations, and emotional arcs even during sleep? Perhaps narrative is not simply entertainment created by civilization. Perhaps story is one of the oldest structures of thought itself. Most vivid dreaming happens during a stage of sleep known as REM sleep. The name stands for rapid eye movement because during this phase, the eyes can move quickly beneath closed eyelids, as if quietly tracking activity inside invisible worlds. Scientists first identified this unusual state during the middle of the 20th century while studying sleeping volunteers connected to early laboratory equipment. Researchers noticed something surprising. During certain periods of sleep, the brain became highly active, even though the body remained deeply at rest. At first, many scientists expected sleep to involve the brain simply powering down into quiet inactivity for the night. Instead, sleep turned out to contain changing stages with very different patterns of brain activity. Some stages involve slower rhythms and reduced mental activity, while REM sleep can resemble waking consciousness dramatically. The dreaming brain may become intensely active, while the sleeping body lies almost fully still beneath blankets in a dark, quiet room. During this stage, several areas of the brain involved with emotion, memory, imagery, and association can become active. Visual regions may grow active even though the eyes remain closed. Emotional systems connected to fear, attachment, curiosity, and motivation may also become more responsive. Yet at the same time, Certain regions linked with strict logical control and careful reality checking may behave differently than they do during waking life. Imagine a theatre production where the actors, lighting, music, scenery, and emotional performances all continue operating normally, yet the editor responsible for checking continuity and realism temporarily steps away from the control room. The resulting performance may still feel emotionally convincing and narratively engaging, but odd transitions and impossible events begin slipping through unnoticed. Dreams often behave in a similar way. A person may suddenly accept impossibilities without hesitation while dreaming. Someone might walk through walls, speak to people from different periods of life at the same time, or travel instantly between locations without questioning how any of it happened. During waking life, the brain would usually detect these inconsistencies immediately. During this stage, however, the systems responsible for critical evaluation may become less dominant, while narrative flow and emotional continuity remain active. Scientists sometimes compare dreams to stories improvised without a strict editor controlling logic from scene to scene. A dream may still feel meaningful and structured despite containing impossible events. This dream stage is also physically unusual in another important way. During vivid dreaming, much of the body experiences temporary muscle paralysis, known as REM atonia. This protective system helps prevent sleeping people from physically acting out their dreams. Although the brain remains active internally, the body stays still except for breathing, eye movement, and small occasional motions. Researchers still debate exactly why REM sleep evolved, though several theories remain influential. Some scientists think dreaming during dream sleep may help process emotions and memory connections gathered during waking life. Others think dreaming may support learning, creativity, adaptation, or mental flexibility. Some theories suggest dreams help simulate possibilities and rehearse emotional responses in a safe environment, detached from immediate danger. Some scientists describe this dream stage as a highly associative mental state. During waking life, attention remains more focused and constrained by the outside world. During dreaming, however, the brain may connect ideas and memories more freely. A smell from childhood may combine with a recent conversation. A familiar street may merge with a place visited many years earlier. Emotional similarities may matter more than realistic geography or chronology. Time itself also behaves strangely during vivid dreams. A dream lasting only minutes may feel much longer while unfolding. Entire journeys, conversations, or dramatic sequences can appear inside relatively short periods of sleep. Scientists still study how the brain generates this altered sense of time perception during dreaming. This stage continues to fascinate neuroscientists because it reveals how active, emotional, creative, and story-driven the human mind remains even during unconscious states. The dreaming brain does not simply switch off for the night. Instead, it may continue weaving memory, emotion, and imagery together through one of the strangest biological experiences human beings undergo each night. One of the strangest features of dreaming is how the mind can combine unrelated memories into a single flowing experience that somehow still feels natural while it unfolds. A person may dream about walking through a school from childhood before suddenly speaking with a co-worker inside a house that never existed in real life. A familiar voice from many years earlier may appear beside events from the previous afternoon. Tiny forgotten details buried deep in memory can suddenly return during dreams without warning. This suggests something important about how dreams may actually form in the brain. Rather than creating entirely new material from nothing, the dreaming mind appears to build narratives partly from fragments already stored within memory. Yet these fragments rarely return exactly as they originally happened. Instead, they become blended, rearranged, stretched, and connected through emotional association in ways that can feel creative. Some researchers compare dreaming to a kind of mental collage assembled from scattered pieces of experience. A street from childhood may connect to a recent conversation. The face of a friend may appear with the voice of someone else entirely. Locations merge together. Time periods overlap. Emotional memories quietly shape the direction of events beneath the surface of the dream. Imagine a giant table covered with thousands of photographs collected across an entire lifetime. Some images are sharp and recent, while others have faded almost beyond recognition. During waking life, the brain usually keeps these memories organized according to time, place, and ordinary reality. During dreaming, however, the mind may begin picking up fragments from many different piles at once before stitching them together into a moving narrative. Scientists studying memory have discovered that human recollection itself is far less stable than most people assume. Memories are not stored like perfect video recordings hidden in the brain. Each time a memory returns, the mind partly rebuilds it from scattered neurological patterns involving sensation, emotion, language, imagery, and association. Remembering may therefore involve reconstruction rather than simple playback. During dream sleep, the brain may activate networks of related memories through association rather than strict logic. One idea may trigger another because of emotional similarity, visual resemblance, sound, location, or personal meaning. The process can resemble improvisation more than orderly retrieval. For example, a person stressed about an upcoming journey may dream about being late for a train inside a childhood neighborhood. The train itself may connect emotionally to anxiety about schedules or movement. The childhood setting may reflect older memories involving pressure or uncertainty. The dream combines separate emotional threads into a single narrative scene without the sleeper consciously planning any of it. This associative process may also explain why dreams often contain symbolic qualities. A dream object may not represent one single meaning directly. Instead, it may gather emotional connections from many experiences at once. A house in a dream may partly reflect memory, safety, identity, family, or change depending upon the emotional context surrounding it. The dreaming brain seems less concerned with literal realism and more interested in emotional and associative connection. Events unfold according to feeling, tension, memory, expectation, and symbolic relationship rather than physical accuracy alone. Some neuroscientists think this freer form of association may help the brain process and reorganize memory itself. During waking life, experiences accumulate continuously. Conversations, images, sounds, worries, plans, fears, and emotions all pass through the mind every day. Sleep may provide an opportunity for the brain to sort, integrate, and connect some of this material across existing memory networks. This possibility becomes interesting when considering creativity. Many artists, writers, musicians, and inventors have described dreams producing unusual combinations of ideas they would never have consciously assembled while awake. Because dreaming loosens ordinary logical filtering, distant associations may connect more easily during sleep. The dreaming mind therefore behaves less like a strict archivist and more like a storyteller, gathering scattered material into emotionally meaningful arrangements. Children often display this same associative flexibility while awake. Young imaginations move easily between fantasy, memory, symbolism, and improvisation. A blanket becomes an ocean, a chair becomes a castle, a hallway becomes a hidden cave. The adult brain usually grows more constrained by practical logic and external rules during waking life. Dreaming may temporarily reopen some of that freer imaginative movement beneath sleep. Another detail involves how small, unnoticed experiences can later appear inside dreams. Researchers have found that seemingly unimportant moments from the day sometimes return unexpectedly during nighttime dreaming. A passing face, a brief sound, a distant smell, or a half-forgotten conversation may quietly reappear hours later inside strange dream narratives. Yet despite this strange recombination process, dreams still often unfold with narrative rhythm. Scenes change, tension develops, questions emerge, events move forward through time. The dreaming mind continues constructing story, even while freely mixing fragments from across an entire lifetime of memory. Human thought may naturally seek connection and sequence, even when operating without ordinary waking control. The brain appears driven to weave scattered experience into flowing patterns that feel meaningful while they unfold. Human beings are natural storytellers long before they ever learn to read or write. Children begin inventing stories almost as soon as language develops. Families organize memories through storytelling at dinner tables and gatherings. Entire civilizations preserve identity through myths, legends, history, and shared narrative traditions passed across generations. Even ordinary conversation often takes the shape of miniature stories with beginnings, turning points, emotion, conflict, and resolution. This storytelling instinct may reveal something fundamental about the structure of human thought itself. Many researchers believe the brain naturally organizes experience through narrative because stories help transform scattered moments into understandable patterns across time. Without some form of narrative organization, life could feel like an endless stream of disconnected sensations and events. Stories create continuity. They allow people to understand cause and effect, remember emotional lessons, predict outcomes, and maintain personal identity across changing years. Dreams may expose this narrative machinery in unusually direct ways, because the sleeping mind continues building stories even after the world fades from awareness. During waking life, people constantly tell themselves internal stories about who they are, where they came from, what they fear, what they hope for, and where life may be heading. Much of human identity depends upon these internal narratives remaining relatively stable over time. A person may think of themselves as successful or unsuccessful, brave or anxious, loved or isolated, partly because of the stories repeatedly constructed around memory and experience. Psychologists sometimes describe identity itself as a kind of ongoing narrative created by the brain. The mind continuously edits and updates this personal story using memory, emotion, expectation, and interpretation. Imagine two people living through the exact same event. One later remembers it as inspiring and transformative, while the other remembers it as painful and humiliating. The factual details may remain similar, yet the emotional story surrounding the memory changes everything. Human beings do not simply experience reality, they interpret reality through narrative. Dreams may emerge from these same storytelling systems, operating under very different nighttime conditions. When the world fades during sleep, the brain may continue doing what it naturally does best by organizing emotion, memory, expectation, fear, and imagination into flowing movement. Some neuroscientists think the human brain evolved specifically to recognize sequences and patterns unfolding across time, because survival depended upon predicting events before they happened. Early humans needed to remember dangerous situations, anticipate weather changes, track animal behavior, understand social relationships, and learn from past experience. Narrative may have become one of the most efficient ways to organize this information inside memory. A story naturally carries consequence across time. Something happens. That event causes another event. Emotion builds. Tension changes. Outcomes emerge. The structure helps the brain track relationships between actions and results in ways isolated facts cannot easily accomplish alone. Dreams often preserve this same movement even when details become unrealistic. A dream may begin calmly before tension slowly increases. A search begins, a danger appears, a reunion happens, escape becomes necessary. Questions emerge. The dream unfolds with emotional momentum, much like stories told through history. This may partly explain why people often wake from dreams still emotionally affected by events that never physically happened. The storytelling systems of the brain respond not only to literal reality, but also to emotionally convincing narrative simulation. Another detail involves how universally storytelling appears across human cultures. Every known civilization developed stories, myths, legends, and narrative traditions regardless of geography or historical period. This suggests storytelling may not simply be entertainment invented by certain societies. It may instead reflect a deeply rooted feature of human cognition itself. Dreaming appears equally universal. Nearly every human being dreams regardless of culture, language, religion, or location. The universality of both dreaming and storytelling raises an intriguing possibility that the two may share ancient neurological roots inside the human brain. Some scholars cautiously speculate that storytelling traditions themselves may have partly grown from humanity, attempting to explain and communicate powerful dream experiences. Ancient people waking from vivid dreams may have shared those experiences socially, gradually transforming dream narratives into shared myths and symbolic stories repeated over generations. Even many ancient religious visions and legendary journeys resemble dream structure in remarkable ways. Time bends, reality transforms, characters appear carrying symbolic meaning. Emotional logic overrides physical realism. Impossible transitions occur naturally. The patterns resemble the strange narrative flexibility still present in modern dreaming. Storytelling also helps people mentally simulate experiences they have never directly lived through. A person hearing a story about danger, loss, courage, exploration, or survival can emotionally experience aspects of those situations without physically encountering them. Dreams may function similarly by allowing the brain to simulate emotional situations within safe sleeping conditions. The sleeping storyteller in the brain appears highly creative because it draws from enormous networks of memory and association. A simple emotional concern from waking life may become transformed into symbolic narrative imagery during dreams. Anxiety about change may appear as moving through unfamiliar buildings. Fear of losing connection may become a dream about missing trains or becoming lost in crowds. The dream rarely explains itself directly. Instead, the sleeping mind builds movement around emotional themes. This process resembles how stories often communicate meaning indirectly through symbolism, metaphor, and emotional experience, rather than straightforward explanation alone. Great stories frequently feel meaningful because they operate through emotional pattern rather than pure logic. Dreams often function the same way. Researchers still debate whether dreams carry specific hidden meanings in every case. Many scientists remain cautious about overly rigid interpretation systems, yet even skeptical researchers generally agree that dreams reflect emotional concerns, memory processing, and associative thinking occurring in the brain during sleep. What remains extraordinary is how naturally these processes seem to produce narrative form. The dreaming mind does not simply generate isolated emotional bursts or random disconnected images. Again and again, it creates stories flowing through scenes, emotions, characters, movement, and symbolic transformation. Emotion may be one of the strongest forces shaping dreams into stories. While memory provides fragments and imagination creates strange combinations, emotion often supplies the momentum, pushing dream narratives forward through the night. Fear can transform an ordinary hallway into a place of pursuit. Anxiety can become endless searching. Hope may appear as reunion or discovery. Even after waking, people often remember not only what happened inside dreams, but how those dreams felt emotionally while they unfolded. Scientists have noticed that emotions appear unusually active during dream sleep. Brain regions connected to emotional processing may become active while certain logical control systems behave differently than they do during waking consciousness. This creates a fascinating situation inside the sleeping brain. Emotional intensity remains powerful, while ordinary reality testing weakens. The result can produce dreams that feel emotionally convincing, even when the events themselves are impossible. This may explain why dreams frequently resemble classic story structures repeated throughout mythology, literature, and storytelling traditions across history. Fear becomes pursuit, desire becomes quest, isolation becomes wandering, loss becomes searching, escape becomes journey. Emotional states naturally unfold through movement because stories allow feelings to evolve across time rather than remaining static. A person worried about failure may dream of endlessly preparing for an important event that never begins. Someone grieving loss may dream of searching through familiar places, trying to find someone who remains just out of reach. Another person feeling overwhelmed may dream of enormous waves, collapsing buildings, or impossible tasks growing larger and larger. The details differ, yet the emotional structure beneath the dream often remains recognizable. Some researchers think the dreaming brain naturally dramatizes emotional concerns into symbolic experiences because narrative provides an efficient way to simulate emotional situations. Instead of presenting feelings directly as abstract information, the sleeping mind creates moving scenes, characters, places, and conflicts carrying emotional weight through unfolding events. This process resembles storytelling itself, because stories rarely communicate emotion simply by stating facts. Instead, emotion emerges through situations, movement, tension, obstacles, choices, and change over time. Dreams appear to use many of these same narrative mechanisms while operating beneath conscious control. The emotional power of dreams can sometimes feel intense because the sleeper becomes immersed inside the narrative world. During waking life, outside distractions constantly divide attention. Sounds, responsibilities, physical surroundings, and social interaction pull awareness in many directions at once. During dreams, however, consciousness may become almost absorbed inside internally generated experience. This immersion helps explain why nightmares can feel genuinely frightening despite occurring inside imagined worlds. The emotional systems of the brain respond strongly to perceived danger, even when no external threat exists. Researchers have found that emotionally significant experiences from waking life often influence dream content more strongly than neutral events. Stress, excitement, grief, anticipation, attachment, uncertainty, and conflict may all increase the likelihood of emotionally vivid dreaming. The sleeping brain appears highly sensitive to emotional importance when selecting material for dream narratives. Some neuroscientists think this sensitivity may help explain why dreams often focus less on ordinary daily routines and more on unresolved emotional tension. The dreaming mind may prioritize experiences carrying emotional weight because those experiences matter more for memory, adaptation, learning, and survival. This emotional emphasis may also contribute to the symbolic quality many dreams contain. Dreams often communicate through emotional resemblance rather than literal realism. A person feeling trapped in waking life may dream of locked rooms or endless corridors. Someone facing uncertainty may dream of unstable landscapes or unfamiliar cities. The dream transforms emotional states into narrative environments the sleeper can experience directly. Some scholars have noticed that recurring dream themes appear consistent across cultures and historical periods. Falling, being chased, becoming lost, arriving late, searching for someone, discovering hidden rooms, or struggling to move all appear frequently in dream reports around the world. The details vary from person to person, yet the emotional structures often remain remarkably familiar. This does not necessarily mean dreams contain universal hidden symbols with fixed meanings. Most modern researchers remain cautious about overly simplistic interpretation systems. Yet the emotional patterns themselves may reflect common features of human experience shaped by fear, attachment, uncertainty, desire, social connection, and survival. Children demonstrate this emotional storytelling instinct very early in life. A child frightened by darkness may imagine monsters hiding nearby. Excitement becomes adventure. Loneliness becomes imaginary friendship. Emotion naturally transforms into narrative because stories help organize internal experience into understandable form. The sleeping mind may continue using this same ancient system every night during dreams. Another fascinating aspect of emotional dreaming involves how quickly dream narratives can shift tone. A peaceful dream may suddenly become frightening. Fear may transform into relief. Curiosity may become confusion. Emotional movement itself often guides scene transitions inside dreams more strongly than physical logic or realistic continuity. This emotional flexibility helps dreams resemble improvisational storytelling, created moment by moment. The narrative follows changing emotional currents through memory and imagination, rather than obeying fixed rules of realism. Some scientists think dreams may function partly as simulations created by the brain during sleep. According to this idea, the dreaming mind does not simply replay memories randomly or generate meaningless images without purpose. Instead, dreams may allow consciousness to rehearse situations, emotions, dangers, decisions, and possibilities inside a safe internal environment, detached from immediate physical risk. The sleeping brain may quietly practice navigating emotional and social experiences through narrative simulation during the night. This theory becomes interesting when considering how often dreams involve movement, conflict, uncertainty, pursuit, searching, escape, or difficult emotional situations. Many dreams place the sleeper inside unfolding scenarios requiring reaction and adaptation. A person may need to solve problems, avoid danger, reconnect with someone important, find direction, or respond to rapidly changing circumstances. Even strange dream narratives frequently involve some kind of emotional or situational challenge moving through time. Imagine an ancient human sleeping beside a fire many thousands of years ago, while dangerous predators still moved through surrounding darkness. During sleep, the dreaming brain may simulate threatening situations involving pursuit, hiding, separation, or escape. The sleeper remains physically safe, while the mind rehearses emotional and behavioral responses inside imagined narrative environments. Some researchers think this ability may have carried survival advantages over long evolutionary periods. One influential idea, known as threat simulation theory, proposes that dreams may help rehearse responses to danger by repeatedly exposing the mind to simulated threatening situations during sleep. According to this view, dreams involving pursuit, conflict, or fear are not meaningless defects of consciousness, but possible evolutionary tools shaped by survival pressure across human history. This may help explain why chase dreams appear so frequently across cultures. Many people have experienced dreams involving being followed, trapped, hunted, or unable to escape danger properly. The details vary widely, yet the emotional structure remains remarkably familiar. Some scientists think the sleeping brain may use narrative because stories naturally allow situations to unfold across time. Simulation requires sequence. A challenge appears, conditions change, decisions happen, consequences follow. Narrative structure may therefore provide an efficient format for rehearsing emotional and behavioral possibilities. Dreams also allow the brain to simulate situations impossible or unlikely to occur during waking life. A person may experience flying, impossible transformations, shifting landscapes, strange conversations, or symbolic emotional events carrying exaggerated intensity. The dreaming mind appears highly flexible when building scenarios because physical realism becomes less important than emotional narrative exploration. This flexibility may support creativity and adaptation. Imagine a pilot training inside a flight simulator, capable of creating endless changing conditions without real danger to the aircraft or passengers. The simulator allows practice under difficult or unusual circumstances, safely separated from immediate physical consequence. Some researchers think dreams may provide something psychologically similar for the human mind, because the brain can experiment with emotional situations, social interactions, fears, desires, and uncertainty, while the body remains protected during sleep. Social simulation may also play an important role in dreaming. Human beings evolved as highly social creatures dependent upon relationships, cooperation, communication, and group survival. Many dreams involve other people speaking, reacting, helping, threatening, disappearing, or reconnecting with the dreamer. The sleeping mind appears strongly drawn towards social narrative even during bizarre dream environments. Some neuroscientists think this may reflect the enormous importance of social intelligence throughout human evolution. Dreams may help rehearse emotional interpretation, conflict management, attachment, trust, fear, and interpersonal interaction through simulated nighttime experiences. What makes this fascinating is that dream characters can sometimes feel autonomous while the dream unfolds. A person may speak with dream figures who appear independent, unpredictable, and emotionally convincing, despite originating entirely within the sleeper's own mind. The dreaming brain effectively becomes playwright, actor, audience, and environment simultaneously. Dream simulation theories may also help explain why emotionally important experiences from waking life often appear transformed inside dreams shortly afterward. The sleeping mind may continue processing unresolved situations by building narrative variations around emotional themes. A stressful conversation may reappear in altered symbolic form. Uncertainty about the future may become wandering through unfamiliar cities or unstable environments. The dream does not simply repeat reality exactly. Instead, it reshapes experience into symbolic simulation. This symbolic flexibility allows dreams to explore emotional possibilities beyond literal replay alone. Fear may become storms or collapsing structures. Pressure may become impossible examinations or endless searching. Emotional states transform into narrative landscapes carrying psychological meaning through movement and tension rather than direct explanation. This possibility connects closely to creativity as well. Many scientific discoveries, artistic ideas, melodies, inventions, and literary concepts reportedly emerged partly from dreams or dreamlike states. The sleeping mind may explore combinations and possibilities ordinary waking logic would normally filter out too quickly. Even nightmares may serve complicated psychological functions despite feeling unpleasant. Fearful dreams may help rehearse emotional coping responses or process unresolved anxiety within controlled sleeping conditions. Although researchers still debate these ideas heavily, many now suspect dreams perform more meaningful functions than early theories once assumed. At the same time, scientists remain cautious about overly simple explanations. Dreams likely emerge from multiple overlapping biological and psychological systems rather than one single purpose alone. Memory processing, emotional regulation, social simulation, creativity, learning, and neurological activity may all contribute simultaneously to dream formation. Yet despite this complexity, one pattern appears repeatedly throughout dreaming because the brain keeps building stories again and again. One of the most astonishing aspects of dreaming is how the mind can create entire characters who appear independent while the dream unfolds. During dreams, people often speak with strangers, friends, family members, or completely invented figures who seem to possess their own personalities, emotions, voices, and intentions. Some dream characters behave warmly, while others become threatening, mysterious, helpful, distant, or unpredictable. Yet every one of them emerges from the same sleeping brain. This has fascinated philosophers, psychologists, and neuroscientists for generations because it reveals something extraordinary about human consciousness itself. The dreaming mind can generate not only environments and events, but also entire social worlds filled with believable individuals moving through narrative situations. A sleeping person may become frightened by a threatening figure or comforted by a familiar voice, despite the entire interaction being internally created. Imagine a playwright sitting alone inside a dark, empty theatre, while somehow performing every role inside the production at the same time. The playwright creates the scenery, writes the dialogue, becomes each actor, reacts emotionally to the unfolding events, and watches the performance simultaneously. Dreams may operate in a similar way. The sleeping mind becomes storyteller, audience, character, and world builder all at once. Researchers have noticed that social interaction appears extremely common during dreaming. Human beings rarely dream only about isolated objects or landscapes without people involved. Instead, dreams frequently contain conversation, cooperation, conflict, reunion, misunderstanding, guidance, or pursuit involving other characters. This may reflect how deeply social human consciousness truly is. The human brain evolved within social groups where survival depended heavily upon communication, emotional interpretation, trust, cooperation, and awareness of other people's intentions. During waking life, the brain constantly predicts and interprets the emotions and motivations of others. Some neuroscientists think dreams may continue exercising these same social systems during sleep through internally generated characters and situations. Some philosophers have pointed to dreaming as evidence that consciousness itself contains many hidden layers operating outside ordinary awareness. During waking life, people usually experience thought as relatively unified and controlled. Dreams reveal how easily the brain can divide itself into multiple apparent identities interacting inside imagined worlds. This may partly explain why dream characters sometimes feel symbolically important, even when they do not resemble specific real people directly. A dream figure may combine emotional qualities from several different individuals at once. Familiar faces blend together, voices shift unexpectedly, personalities merge. The dream appears less concerned with perfect realism and more interested in emotional narrative function. Some researchers think the sleeping brain constructs dream characters using networks involved with memory, social prediction, emotional modeling, and imagination. During waking life, these systems help people anticipate how others may react in conversation or social situations. During dreaming, the same systems may become freer and more creative, generating convincing fictional people inside imagined scenarios. There is something strange about the idea that consciousness can generate entire social realities internally while remaining unaware it is doing so. During dreams, the sleeper rarely recognizes that every person, voice, and emotional exchange originates from the same brain generating the dream itself. The illusion of independent characters feels natural while the narrative continues unfolding. Dream characters may also reflect emotional concerns carried from waking life. A stressful authority figure may appear transformed into symbolic form during dreams. A lost relationship may return through imagined reunion. Fear of judgment may become crowds of silent observers. Emotional themes often shape which types of characters appear and how they behave during dream narratives. Some lucid dreamers report becoming aware they are dreaming while still interacting with dream characters. These moments can feel especially surreal because the dreamer suddenly realizes the entire social world around them originates within their own consciousness. Yet even after recognizing the dream state, the characters may continue behaving autonomously and conversationally. Human beings are often described as pattern-finding creatures. The brain constantly searches for connection, sequence, meaning, and order, even in situations where information remains incomplete or uncertain. People recognize faces inside clouds, shapes inside shadows, and familiar patterns hidden within random noise. This tendency may reveal something deeply important about human consciousness because the mind appears naturally driven to organize scattered information into understandable structures. Dreaming may expose this pattern-seeking instinct in unusually vivid ways. During sleep, the brain receives far less external sensory information than it does during waking life. The outside world grows quieter. Vision fades behind closed eyelids. Physical surroundings become distant. Yet despite reduced external input, the mind continues generating experiences filled with movement, characters, emotion, and narrative sequence. Dreams suggest the brain does not simply wait passively for reality to provide meaning. Instead, consciousness may actively construct meaning continuously even while asleep. Some neuroscientists think this may help explain why dreams so often become stories rather than complete chaos. The sleeping brain may still attempt to organize scattered signals into coherent patterns despite the unusual neurological conditions of REM sleep. Memory fragments, emotions, sensory traces, fears, expectations, and imagination all become woven together into experiences that feel structured while they unfold. Imagine looking up at the night sky and seeing constellations stretched across darkness. The stars themselves may exist enormous distances apart without actual physical lines connecting them. Yet the human mind naturally links scattered points into recognizable shapes and stories. Ancient civilizations imagined hunters, animals, heroes, rivers, and mythical beings spread across the stars because consciousness instinctively seeks meaningful patterns inside complexity. Dreams may operate in a similar way because the sleeping brain receives scattered fragments from memory and emotion, then begins linking them into narrative constellations unfolding through time. A recent conversation connects with childhood memory. Fear links with symbolic imagery. Places merge through emotional association. The resulting dream may appear strange afterward, yet while it unfolds, the narrative often feels emotionally coherent because the mind continues searching for structure. Some researchers think this tendency toward coherence may remain active even when ordinary logical systems weaken during dreaming. The brain still attempts to create understandable flow from incomplete information. Dreams, therefore, may not represent pure randomness at all. Instead, they may reveal consciousness trying to build order under unusual nighttime conditions, where emotional association becomes more influential than waking realism. This may explain why dreams often contain transitions that feel natural while sleeping, even though they make little sense after waking. The mind prioritizes emotional narrative continuity over strict physical logic. One scene flows into another because the emotional pattern connecting them feels internally consistent to the dreaming brain. A person may dream of walking through a familiar childhood neighborhood, before suddenly entering an airport connected somehow to feelings of uncertainty or departure. The physical transition makes no realistic sense, yet the emotional narrative linking memory and change may feel natural inside the dream itself. Some neuroscientists describe the brain as a prediction machine continuously attempting to anticipate and interpret reality. During waking life, external sensory information constantly helps correct and stabilize these predictions. During dreaming, however, the brain may generate much more of the experience internally, while still applying its natural tendency toward pattern construction. This creates fascinating possibilities because the sleeping mind may continue generating meaning from internally activated memory fragments, even without outside reality guiding the process. Dreams become shifting attempts at coherence, assembled from emotion, association, expectation, and imagination. The brain keeps trying to make sense of incomplete material because pattern construction may be one of the deepest habits of consciousness itself. This tendency also connects closely to storytelling because stories are essentially patterns stretched through time. Events connect, consequences emerge, characters interact, tension develops, meaning unfolds gradually through sequence and relationship. The human mind appears strongly drawn toward this kind of temporal organization, both while awake and asleep. Children demonstrate this instinct early in life. A child hearing strange sounds at night may immediately imagine hidden creatures or secret events causing them. Random events become connected through narrative explanation because the mind resists pure uncertainty. Adults continue using similar processes constantly, though often in more sophisticated ways involving identity, memory, social interaction, and personal meaning. Dreams may reveal this ancient pattern-seeking machinery operating freely beneath waking control. Another detail involves how emotionally important patterns become especially memorable inside dreams. The sleeping brain appears highly sensitive to emotional relevance when constructing narrative meaning. Fearful patterns may become pursuit stories, longing may become searching, curiosity may become exploration. Emotional significance acts almost like gravity, pulling scattered dream elements together into coherent movement. Some scientists think this may help explain why dreams often feel meaningful, even when their literal details remain bizarre or fragmented. The emotional pattern underneath the dream can still feel psychologically coherent, despite unrealistic imagery or impossible events. Some philosophers have suggested that consciousness itself may depend heavily upon narrative pattern recognition. The sense of being a continuous self, moving through time, partly emerges because the brain links experiences together into coherent personal story. Dreams reveal how naturally this linking process continues, even during unconscious states. The sleeping mind, therefore, may not simply produce random hallucinations during dream sleep. Instead, it may reveal consciousness continuously searching for connection, meaning, and structure beneath awareness. Long before modern neuroscience existed, ancient civilizations were already fascinated by the strange relationship between dreams and stories. Across thousands of years of human history, people noticed that dreams often behaved like myths unfolding during the night. Impossible journeys appeared, ordinary people transformed into animals or spirits, dead relatives returned to speak, great floods swallowed entire cities, strange guides led dreamers through landscapes filled with symbolic meaning and emotional intensity. The similarities between dream logic and ancient mythology are difficult to ignore because both often move through worlds where emotion matters more than ordinary realism. In many myths from around the world, reality behaves in ways strongly resembling dreams rather than waking life. Time stretches and bends, distances collapse instantly, characters transform shape without warning. A mountain may speak, a river may carry memory, the sky itself may become a living presence. Ancient stories often operate through emotional and symbolic logic, where events do not need to obey the rules of ordinary physical life in order to feel meaningful, memorable, or true to human experience. Some scholars cautiously wonder whether dreams may have influenced the earliest development of storytelling itself. Before writing existed, human beings gathered around fires beneath dark skies and shared experiences through spoken narrative. Vivid dreams likely became part of these conversations very early in human culture. A person waking from an emotionally powerful dream may have described strange journeys, impossible creatures, mysterious voices, or frightening visions to others in the group. Over generations, private dream images may have blended into myth, legend, religion, and oral storytelling tradition. Imagine a small community thousands of years ago resting beside flickering firelight after darkness settled across the landscape. Someone begins describing a dream involving distant mountains, glowing animals, hidden caves, or voices from unseen worlds. Others listen closely because the dream feels emotionally important, despite its impossible imagery. Over time, certain dream patterns may be repeated, shared, expanded, and transformed into collective stories passed through generations. In that way, dreaming may have helped feed the oldest human habit of turning mystery into narrative. This possibility may help explain why myths often contain movement that feels closer to dreams than to waking reality. Heroes suddenly travel enormous distances. Divine beings appear without explanation. Landscapes shift according to emotional significance. Symbolic objects carry strange power. The logic feels fluid and emotionally driven rather than physically realistic. Dreams themselves naturally generate this kind of structure because the sleeping mind accepts transformation, impossible movement, and symbolic meaning without stopping to question whether the sequence makes practical sense. A person dreaming rarely questions impossible transformations while they happen. Someone may suddenly become a child again, speak with a person who has been gone for many years, or stand inside a house that somehow combines several places from different periods of life. The emotional meaning matters more than physical consistency. Ancient mythology often works through the same type of symbolic flexibility, where the impossible becomes acceptable because it carries feeling, meaning, warning, wonder, or transformation. Many religious traditions also contain visionary experiences closely resembling dream states. Prophets, shamans, mystics, and spiritual leaders across history often described symbolic journeys, encounters with powerful beings, or overwhelming visions during sleep, trance, fasting, meditation, illness, or altered states of consciousness. Modern researchers approach these experiences cautiously, yet the narrative similarities between dreams and spiritual storytelling remain striking. Both can create worlds that feel deeply meaningful while moving through imagery that does not follow waking rules. Some anthropologists believe dreams may have played an important role in helping early human societies build shared symbolic systems. Dreams naturally produce emotionally powerful images that feel personally meaningful. When communicated socially, these dream narratives may have helped shape collective ideas about identity, fear, morality, death, ancestors, survival, and the unknown. A private dream could become a public story once it was spoken aloud, remembered by others, and retold within the shared imagination of a community. Ancient Egypt provides one fascinating example of how seriously dreams were once treated. Egyptian texts describe dream interpretation practices thousands of years old. Some dreams were considered messages carrying guidance or warning from divine forces. Temples connected to dreaming existed in several ancient cultures, where people intentionally slept in sacred locations, hoping for healing visions or symbolic insight. The dream was not treated as a meaningless mental accident, but as an experience that seemed to arrive with narrative, emotion, and possible significance. Ancient Greece also connected dreaming closely with storytelling, prophecy, and religion. Greek literature contains many scenes where dreams influence decisions, reveal hidden truths, or deliver symbolic warnings. The boundary between dream experience, myth, and spiritual meaning often remained fluid within ancient thought. A dream could become a message, a warning, a dramatic omen, or a doorway into an unseen world. Even when modern science explains dreams differently, it is easy to understand why ancient people treated them with such seriousness. Notably, the human brain appears capable of generating myth-like narratives during ordinary sleep. Dreams can create emotionally convincing worlds filled with symbolism, transformation, danger, mystery, and dramatic sequence without effort. The sleeping mind behaves almost like an ancient storyteller, improvising symbolic narratives beneath darkness, drawing from memory, fear, hope, imagination, and deep emotional association. Some modern researchers think this connection between dreams and myth reveals how deeply narrative thinking runs inside human cognition. The brain may instinctively organize emotional experience into symbolic stories, because narrative allows complex feelings and uncertainties to become understandable through movement across time. Dreams may therefore represent one of humanity's oldest forms of internal storytelling, unfolding silently before any audience except the dreamer, yet shaped by the same narrative instincts that later appear in myth, legend, and literature. Psychologist Carl Jung became especially interested in these parallels during the 20th century. Jung believed dreams and myths both reflected deep symbolic patterns within the human psyche. Some of his ideas remain controversial among scientists today, yet many researchers still acknowledge the extraordinary narrative similarities linking dreams, myths, and storytelling traditions across history. Even without accepting every interpretation, the shared patterns suggest that dreaming and storytelling may draw from related systems of imagination, emotion, and memory. The emotional realism of dreams may also explain why ancient people often treated them seriously. A terrifying dream can feel convincing while it unfolds. A comforting dream reunion with someone lost may produce genuine emotion. Dreams can influence waking behavior because the emotional systems of the brain respond intensely to dream narratives, despite their imagined nature. This emotional power likely made dreams memorable within ancient societies long before scientific explanations existed. One important aspect of dreaming is how the sleeping mind can transform tiny fragments of memory into entire narrative worlds. A forgotten street corner, a voice heard briefly during the day, a childhood object hidden in storage for many years, or a small emotional moment barely noticed while awake can suddenly return during dreams, carrying surprising emotional intensity. The dreaming brain appears constantly capable of gathering scattered pieces of experience and reshaping them into flowing stories during sleep. What feels random on the surface may actually reflect the mind quietly connecting memories through emotion, association, symbolism, and movement beneath awareness. Researchers have noticed that dream content often combines recent experiences with much older memories. A conversation from the afternoon may blend with a school classroom from childhood. A recent worry may merge with emotional memories from many years earlier. Familiar faces become combined together, while locations shift and overlap in impossible ways. The resulting dream feels new, while still containing hidden traces of countless earlier experiences woven beneath the surface. This strange mixing process reveals how flexible memory may actually be inside the human mind, because experiences do not remain stored as perfect recordings frozen permanently in time. Modern neuroscience suggests that memory itself behaves more like reconstruction than playback. Every time a person remembers something, the brain partly rebuilds the experience using emotion, association, imagery, sensation, and interpretation. Memories can subtly change over time depending upon emotional state, later experiences, or repeated retelling. Dreaming appears to expand this reconstructive process even further, because the sleeping brain becomes freer to connect fragments in unusual ways, without the stabilizing influence of waking reality constantly guiding thought. Imagine a giant archive containing millions of scattered impressions collected across an entire lifetime. Sounds, fears, conversations, faces, places, emotional moments, hopes, worries, and forgotten details all remain stored within vast, interconnected networks. During waking life, the brain organizes these materials carefully enough to maintain ordinary reality and stable identity. During dreaming, however, the mind may begin experimenting more freely with combinations and connections, pulling fragments together into entirely new narrative arrangements shaped by emotional association rather than strict realism. A person may dream of walking through a childhood home while hearing music discovered only recently. Someone from school may appear speaking with the voice of a modern co-worker. A landscape from a holiday many years earlier may suddenly connect with current emotional concerns. The dream creates continuity from fragments that would never normally combine during waking life. Yet while the dream unfolds, these impossible combinations often feel emotionally natural because the sleeping mind prioritizes symbolic and narrative coherence more strongly than physical consistency. Some researchers think this associative flexibility may help support memory integration itself. Experiences gathered during waking life must somehow become connected with older knowledge, emotional patterns, and existing memory networks. Sleep may provide opportunities for the brain to reorganize and integrate some of this material through dynamic internal processing. Dreams may therefore reveal the mind actively linking emotional and memory systems together beneath awareness, while consciousness drifts through sleep. This may help explain why emotionally important events often appear in dreams shortly after they happen. A stressful interaction, exciting possibility, unresolved conflict, emotional disappointment, or major life change may continue echoing through dreams because the brain keeps working with the emotional material during sleep. The dreaming mind appears especially sensitive to experiences carrying emotional weight because those experiences matter more strongly for learning, memory, survival, and psychological adaptation. At the same time, dreams rarely replay waking life exactly as it originally happened. Instead, memory fragments become transformed through symbolism, emotional resemblance, and shifting movement. The dreaming brain behaves less like a recording device and more like a storyteller, reshaping experience into emotional sequence. A person anxious about uncertainty may dream of wandering through endless, unfamiliar hallways. Fear of separation may become trains, leaving stations, or roads, disappearing into darkness. Emotional states become narrative environments, carrying symbolic meaning through movement and imagery. This storytelling tendency remains remarkably strong throughout dreaming. Even when memories become fragmented or distorted, the sleeping mind still attempts to organize them into flowing narrative form. Characters interact, tension develops, journeys begin. Emotional situations evolve through changing scenes. Questions emerge naturally through movement and uncertainty. The dreaming brain repeatedly transforms scattered impressions into stories because consciousness itself may naturally seek sequence, meaning, and emotional continuity across time. Some researchers compare this process to improvisational storytelling. A storyteller may begin with scattered ideas, remembered images, emotional themes, and fragments of conversation before gradually weaving them together into coherent movement. Dreams appear to function similarly, except the process unfolds unconsciously during sleep. The mind gathers emotional material from many different layers of memory before reshaping those fragments into symbolic experiences, carrying tension, mystery, curiosity, fear, longing, or transformation. Another detail involves how dreams sometimes reveal hidden emotional connections between memories that appear unrelated during waking life. A person may suddenly dream about a place not thought about for decades after experiencing a small emotional trigger during the day. The conscious mind may not immediately recognize the relationship, yet the sleeping brain links the experiences through deeper emotional association. This suggests that memory networks in the brain may remain far more interconnected than ordinary awareness fully notices during daily life. Smell provides one especially powerful example of this phenomenon because certain scents can trigger vivid emotional memories almost instantly. A familiar perfume, the scent of rain, old paper, ocean air, or smoke from a fire may suddenly unlock forgotten emotional experiences from many years earlier. Dreams may operate through similar associative pathways, where one emotional impression quietly activates entire networks of connected memory. A recent feeling of uncertainty may trigger older memories, carrying similar emotional tones even when the situations themselves differ. The dream then transforms these linked emotional impressions into narrative form. A person feeling overwhelmed may dream of enormous waves or unstable buildings. Someone experiencing loneliness may dream of searching crowded streets for familiar faces. Another person feeling hopeful about change may dream of hidden rooms, open landscapes, or distant horizons. The symbolic details differ widely, yet the emotional architecture beneath the dream often reflects genuine psychological concerns connected through association and memory. Stories through history frequently operate through this same emotional logic. Great myths, novels, films, and legends often connect symbolic events to emotional meaning rather than strict realism alone. Dreams appear naturally capable of generating comparable symbolic narratives without planning. This may help explain why dreams can sometimes feel meaningful, even when their literal events remain bizarre or impossible. The emotional structure underneath the dream still carries coherence because the brain organizes memory and feeling through associative movement rather than physical realism alone. Children demonstrate this associative imagination constantly during waking life. A hallway becomes a jungle, a chair becomes a castle, a toy becomes a living companion. The young mind moves freely between memory, imagination, emotion, and narrative because rigid waking logic remains less dominant during early childhood. Dreaming may reopen some of this same imaginative flexibility beneath sleep, allowing memory fragments and emotional associations to combine more freely into symbolic storytelling. Some researchers think creativity itself may partly depend upon this ability to connect distant ideas and memories in unusual ways. During waking thought, practical logic often filters associations quickly to maintain focus and stability. Dreams loosen some of these constraints, allowing more unexpected combinations to emerge naturally through emotional and symbolic connection. This may explain why many artists, musicians, scientists, and writers throughout history describe dreams inspiring unusual creative insights or imaginative breakthroughs. Long before modern laboratories began studying sleep and brain activity, ancient civilizations were already deeply fascinated by dreams and the strange stories unfolding during sleep. Across thousands of years of human history, people often believed dreams carried hidden meaning, spiritual guidance, warnings, prophecies, or messages from unseen worlds. The emotional intensity and narrative realism of dreams made them difficult to dismiss because many dreams felt vivid, symbolic, and personally important long after waking. Ancient Egypt developed some of the earliest known dream interpretation traditions recorded in written form. Egyptian texts, dating back thousands of years, describe dreams as meaningful experiences connected to divine communication, healing, and spiritual understanding. Certain dreams were carefully analyzed for symbolic messages, while special dream books attempted to interpret recurring imagery and emotional patterns. Some Egyptian temples even allowed people to sleep within sacred spaces, hoping to receive healing dreams or guidance through visions appearing during the night. Imagine lying inside a quiet temple chamber, illuminated only by flickering oil lamps, while priests nearby believe dreams may open temporary pathways between ordinary human life and the unseen world. The atmosphere itself would likely influence emotional expectation before sleep even began. A vivid dream experienced within such a setting could easily feel deeply meaningful to the dreamer, because the surrounding culture already treated dreams with seriousness, mystery, and symbolic importance. Ancient Mesopotamian civilizations also believed dreams could carry divine messages or warnings about future events. Kings sometimes consulted dream interpreters before making major decisions because certain dreams were viewed as possible signs connected to war, leadership, weather, or political danger. Written records from Mesopotamia contain accounts of symbolic dreams influencing rulers and shaping important historical choices. In these societies, dreams were not dismissed as meaningless mental noise. They were woven directly into religion, politics, storytelling, and cultural belief. Ancient Greece developed especially rich traditions surrounding dreams and sleep. Greek mythology frequently portrayed dreams as mysterious forces capable of influencing human life through symbolic vision and emotional revelation. Temples dedicated to healing gods sometimes encourage people to sleep within sacred areas, hoping to receive dreams carrying guidance or cures for illness. This practice became known as dream incubation, because the sleeper intentionally sought emotionally meaningful dreams within ritual environments designed to encourage spiritual reflection and symbolic experience. Greek philosophers also became deeply interested in the nature of dreaming itself. Some thinkers questioned whether dreams revealed hidden truths about the mind, while others viewed dreams as reflections of memory, desire, fear, or emotional imbalance. Even without modern neuroscience, ancient philosophers recognized that dreams appeared connected to imagination, emotion, and the strange flexibility of sleeping consciousness. The Greek writer Homer included powerful dreams within epic storytelling as well. Characters inside ancient epics often receive symbolic visions during sleep, carrying emotional or prophetic importance. The dream becomes part of the larger movement because ancient audiences already understood dreams as experiences capable of influencing emotion, identity, and decision-making. Storytelling and dreaming remained closely linked within cultural imagination. Ancient Chinese traditions also treated dreams seriously for thousands of years. Some philosophical schools viewed dreams as windows into emotional balance, spiritual harmony, or hidden aspects of consciousness. Dreams could reflect internal conflict, emotional disturbance, or changes occurring within the natural flow between mind, body, and surrounding reality. Traditional Chinese thought often emphasized balance and interconnectedness, so dreams became another way of understanding relationships between emotion, health, and the larger order of existence. Indigenous cultures throughout the world also developed rich dream traditions, shaped by local belief systems and spiritual practices. In many communities, dreams were shared socially, rather than treated as entirely private experiences. Dream stories could influence hunting decisions, rituals, relationships, moral teaching, or community understanding. Some cultures believed important dreams connected individuals with ancestors, spirits, or hidden layers of reality existing beyond ordinary waking perception. The emotional realism of dreaming likely played a major role in shaping these beliefs. A vivid dream can feel convincing while it unfolds. Fear during a nightmare feels real. Relief inside a comforting dream feels real. A reunion with someone lost can produce genuine emotion despite existing entirely within imagined experience. Ancient people responding emotionally to such dreams naturally searched for explanation because the experiences themselves often felt too powerful to ignore completely. Even today, modern people frequently wake from certain dreams carrying lingering emotional impact throughout the day. A disturbing dream may leave anxiety behind for hours. A peaceful dream may create calm or nostalgia after waking. The brain responds emotionally to dream narratives, even though it knows afterward that the events were imagined. This emotional force may help explain why dreams influenced religion, mythology, storytelling, and cultural belief through history. Some modern researchers think ancient dream interpretation traditions reveal how naturally human beings search for meaning within emotionally powerful experiences. The brain appears strongly driven to organize uncertainty into narrative explanation. Dreams already arrive shaped like stories filled with symbolism, emotional movement, characters, and changing events. Ancient cultures therefore treated dreams almost like mysterious messages because the experiences themselves already resembled meaningful narrative communication. At the same time, modern neuroscience approaches dreams very differently from ancient spiritual traditions. Researchers now study REM sleep, brain activity, emotional processing, memory integration, and neurological systems involved in dreaming. Yet even with scientific advances, the deeper emotional mystery of dreams has never disappeared entirely. Dreams still feel strangely personal because they emerge from memory, emotion, imagination, and identity woven together beneath consciousness. Another remarkable detail involves how many ancient myths themselves resemble dream logic closely. Heroes wander through impossible landscapes. Time bends strangely. Symbolic figures appear suddenly carrying emotional significance. Physical realism becomes less important than emotional truth and movement. Dreams naturally generate similar experiences every night. This overlap may partly explain why ancient storytelling traditions and dream interpretation became so closely connected across civilizations. Across temples, villages, deserts, mountains, forests, and ancient cities through history, people closed their eyes beneath the night sky and entered dream worlds carrying mystery, symbolism, emotion, fear, wonder, and movement. Long before modern science began studying sleep, humanity already understood one remarkable truth about dreams, because the sleeping mind has always been a storyteller. Modern neuroscience has revealed that the dreaming brain remains far more active during sleep than scientists once imagined. For many centuries, people assumed sleep involved the mind gradually shutting down into quiet inactivity each night. Early researchers expected the sleeping brain to behave almost like a machine temporarily powered off for rest and recovery. Instead, scientific discoveries during the 20th century revealed something far stranger, because certain stages of sleep contain intense neurological activity closely connected to vivid dreaming and emotional dream experience. One of the most important discoveries came when researchers identified REM sleep, the stage known as rapid eye movement sleep. During this phase, the eyes move quickly beneath closed eyelids, while the brain becomes active internally. Scientists monitoring sleeping volunteers noticed unusual patterns appearing during these periods, because brain activity sometimes resembled waking consciousness more closely than deep, quiet sleep. Yet despite this intense mental activity, the body itself remained mostly motionless beneath the blankets. This created a fascinating mystery. How could the brain become so active while the body stayed physically still? Researchers eventually discovered that the nervous system temporarily limits most major muscle movement during this stage through a process sometimes called REM atonia. This protective biological mechanism helps prevent people from physically acting out dreams while unconscious. Internally, the dreamer may experience running, speaking, climbing, searching, escaping, or emotional confrontation, while externally, the body remains safely resting in bed. The contrast between intense internal narrative activity and quiet physical stillness remains one of the strangest features of human sleep. Scientists studying brain scans during dreaming have also noticed that different regions of the brain behave differently during dream sleep. Areas connected to emotion, imagery, memory, and association may become highly active, while certain regions linked to strict logical analysis and careful reality checking become less dominant. This unusual neurological balance may help explain why dreams can feel emotionally convincing, while still allowing impossible events and shifting dream logic to unfold naturally. Imagine a theatre production where lighting, scenery, emotional music, actors, and dramatic movement continue operating powerfully, while the editor responsible for checking realism quietly steps away from the control room. The resulting experience may still feel emotionally coherent and narratively engaging, yet impossible transitions and unrealistic events begin slipping through unnoticed. Dreams often behave in a similar way because emotional and imaginative systems remain highly active, while logical oversight becomes weaker during dream sleep. This may explain why dream narratives can suddenly shift location, identity, or sequence without seeming strange until after waking. A person may walk through a childhood neighborhood before instantly entering an airport, connected emotionally to fear of change or departure. Someone may speak with a relative who somehow changes appearance halfway through the dream without interrupting the emotional flow of the experience. The dreaming brain prioritizes narrative and emotional continuity more strongly than physical realism. Researchers have also discovered that emotional systems in the brain become especially important during dreaming. Regions associated with fear, attachment, motivation, and emotional memory may become responsive during dream sleep. This may help explain why dreams often feel emotionally intense, even when the events themselves appear bizarre or impossible after waking. The emotional experience remains genuine because the brain responds strongly to internally generated narrative situations. Another detail involves how active visual systems become during dreaming. Although the eyes remain closed, the brain can generate vivid landscapes, faces, movement, colors, buildings, oceans, forests, cities, and symbolic imagery entirely from internal neurological activity. The dreaming mind effectively creates immersive virtual worlds without direct sensory input from the outside environment. Every scene, character, object, and event emerges from the sleeping brain itself. Some neuroscientists compare dreams to internally generated simulations where memory, emotion, and imagination combine into temporary narrative realities experienced by consciousness during sleep. The brain becomes capable of building entire worlds from stored information and emotional association alone. This may explain why dreams can sometimes feel almost indistinguishable from waking life while they unfold, because the same broad neurological systems involved with perception, imagery, emotion, and experience remain active during dream sleep. Time perception also behaves strangely during dreaming. A dream lasting only minutes may feel much longer while unfolding internally. Entire conversations, journeys, emotional conflicts, or dramatic situations may appear inside relatively short periods of REM sleep. Scientists still study exactly how the brain creates this altered sense of temporal experience during dreams, because subjective dream time does not always match measurable physical time perfectly. Researchers have also noticed that REM sleep occurs repeatedly throughout the night, rather than appearing only once. Dream periods often become longer and more vivid, closer to morning as sleep cycles continue. This may partly explain why dreams remembered after waking often feel especially detailed, because people frequently awaken directly from later REM periods, carrying stronger dream recall. Modern sleep laboratories have transformed scientific understanding of dreaming in remarkable ways. Electrodes measuring brain waves, eye movement, heart rate, muscle activity, and neurological patterns allow researchers to study sleep with far greater precision than ancient civilizations could ever imagine. Yet despite all this technology, dreams themselves still remain deeply mysterious, because no machine can fully capture the subjective emotional experience unfolding during sleep. Scientists continue debating exactly why dreaming evolved and what functions dreams may serve. Some researchers emphasize emotional processing, while others focus on memory integration, social simulation, creativity, adaptation, or neurological maintenance. Many now suspect dreaming likely involves multiple overlapping biological and psychological processes operating together, rather than one single purpose alone. One remarkable feature of dreaming is how emotionally real dreams can feel while they are happening. A person may wake from a nightmare with a racing heart and lingering fear, even though no actual danger existed in the bedroom. Another dream may leave behind comfort, sadness, longing, relief, or nostalgia lasting long after waking. The emotional force of dreams often feels genuine because the sleeping brain responds to imagined experiences in ways similar to waking emotional events. Researchers studying REM sleep have discovered that emotional systems in the brain become highly active during vivid dreaming. Regions connected to fear, attachment, motivation, emotional memory, and social feeling may remain strongly engaged while dreams unfold through the night. At the same time, certain areas responsible for strict logical evaluation and reality checking behave differently than they do during waking life. This unusual neurological balance helps explain why dreams can feel emotionally convincing even when the events themselves appear impossible after waking. Imagine watching an emotionally powerful film while temporarily forgetting it is fictional. The body reacts automatically to tension, danger, sadness, or relief, because emotional systems respond directly to narrative experience. Dreams may create an even stronger version of this process because the sleeper becomes immersed inside internally generated worlds without outside reminders separating imagination from reality. During the dream itself, the emotional experience often feels real. This may help explain why nightmares can remain so disturbing, despite occurring entirely within imagined environments. A dream involving pursuit, falling, separation, helplessness, or loss can trigger genuine fear responses within the nervous system during sleep. Breathing may change, heart rate may increase, muscles remain mostly still because of REM paralysis, yet internally, the emotional systems of the brain react strongly to the unfolding narrative situation. Some neuroscientists think dreams may help process emotional experiences gathered during waking life. Throughout every day, people encounter stress, uncertainty, social tension, hope, disappointment, attachment, excitement, and countless emotional impressions. Sleep may provide opportunities for the brain to reorganize and integrate some of this emotional material through symbolic dream experience. Dreams may therefore act partly as emotional rehearsals or processing environments where feelings continue moving through memory and imagination beneath awareness. This could explain why emotionally significant experiences often appear inside dreams shortly after they happen. A difficult conversation, major decision, unresolved worry, exciting possibility, or emotional conflict may continue echoing through dreams because the sleeping mind keeps working with the emotional weight of the experience. Yet dreams rarely replay events exactly as they originally occurred. Instead, emotions become transformed into symbolic situations carrying similar psychological tension. A person anxious about uncertainty may dream of wandering through endless unfamiliar buildings. Someone afraid of losing connection may dream of trains leaving stations or disappearing crowds. Emotional states become narrative environments carrying symbolic meaning through movement, tension, and imagery. The sleeping brain appears deeply skilled at transforming feeling into story. Researchers have also noticed that many common dream themes carry strong emotional structure. Falling dreams often involve fear of losing control. Chase dreams reflect threat and avoidance. Searching dreams may connect to longing, uncertainty, or frustration. Reunion dreams can produce comfort, grief, nostalgia, or relief. Even bizarre dream narratives usually contain emotional coherence beneath their strange surface imagery. A dream may contain impossible locations, shifting identities, or unrealistic events, while still feeling emotionally understandable, because the narrative follows emotional logic rather than physical logic. One scene flows into another through emotional association. A feeling of pressure may transform into impossible examinations or collapsing environments. Fear may become storms or dangerous figures. Hope may become discovery, open landscapes, or reunion. Stories through history often operate through similar emotional architecture. Great myths, novels, films, and legends rarely succeed because of realism alone. They succeed because they create emotional movement across time. Tension builds, fear rises, loss deepens, relief arrives, transformation occurs. Dreams naturally generate many of these same emotional story structures every night beneath sleep. Another detail involves how attachment and social connection appear inside dreams. Human beings evolved as deeply social creatures, dependent upon relationships, cooperation, protection, and emotional bonding. Dreams frequently involve loved ones, family members, strangers, crowds, guides, companions, or lost relationships because emotional attachment systems remain highly important inside the sleeping brain. A comforting dream involving someone familiar may produce genuine feelings of warmth and safety. A painful dream involving separation or conflict may leave emotional heaviness lingering after waking. Even though the events are imagined, the emotional systems responding to those experiences remain very real. This helps explain why dreams can sometimes influence waking mood for hours afterward. Some researchers think dreams may also help regulate emotional intensity over time, by allowing the brain to revisit emotional concerns under different symbolic conditions during sleep. Rather than remaining trapped inside one literal replay of an event, the mind reshapes emotional material through shifting narrative scenarios and symbolic transformation. This flexibility may support emotional adaptation and psychological resilience in subtle ways still being studied today. Children provide another fascinating example of emotional dreaming. Young children often experience vivid dreams and nightmares because imagination, emotional sensitivity, and symbolic thinking remain highly active during development. A child frightened by uncertainty may dream of monsters, darkness, separation, or strange creatures because emotional states naturally transform into narrative imagery during sleep. Adults continue using similar emotional storytelling systems even though dream imagery often becomes more complex with age and experience. Some neuroscientists think the emotional intensity of dreams may partly explain why humans have remained fascinated by dreaming throughout history. Dreams rarely feel emotionally neutral. Even strange, fragmented dreams often carry atmosphere, tension, curiosity, wonder, confusion, sadness, relief, or fear. The emotional realism of dreaming makes the experience feel meaningful because the brain responds to dream narratives with genuine emotional engagement. Dreams often feel strange because the normal rules governing waking reality become far less stable during sleep. Time bends unexpectedly. Locations merge together. People change appearance halfway through conversations. Entire scenes shift without warning while the dream continues moving forward as though everything still makes emotional sense. Yet despite all this instability, most dream narratives continue unfolding with remarkable confidence because the sleeping mind accepts impossible transitions far more easily than the waking brain normally would. Scientists studying dreaming believe this may happen partly because certain regions involved with logical monitoring and reality checking become less dominant during dream sleep. Emotional, visual, and associative systems remain highly active, while stricter analytical oversight weakens. The result creates a state where symbolic movement and emotional continuity become more important than physical consistency. Dreams therefore often behave more like flowing emotional stories than realistic simulations of ordinary life. Imagine watching a play where the stage scenery changes instantly between scenes without the audience questioning how the transformation occurred. A quiet forest suddenly becomes a crowded city. Daylight shifts into darkness without explanation. A stranger becomes a childhood friend halfway through a conversation. In waking life, such abrupt changes would feel deeply confusing. Inside dreams, however, the mind often accepts these transitions naturally because emotional narrative flow remains intact beneath the changing imagery. This flexibility may reveal something important about how consciousness organizes experience. During waking life, external sensory information constantly stabilizes perception. The physical world provides structure, continuity, and predictable rules limiting imagination. During dreaming, the world fades while internally generated imagery becomes dominant. The brain continues building experiences from memory, emotion, and association, yet without ordinary sensory grounding, the resulting narratives become much more fluid and symbolic. A person may dream of leaving home and suddenly arriving inside a school not visited for decades. The classroom may transform gradually into an airport, connected somehow to feelings of uncertainty or departure. A conversation may continue uninterrupted, even as surrounding locations shift fully. Physical realism disappears, yet emotional movement keeps the narrative flowing forward through changing dream environments. Some neuroscientists think dreams may reveal how strongly the human mind prioritizes emotional narrative coherence over literal realism under certain conditions. As long as the emotional structure of the dream remains understandable, the sleeping brain may tolerate extraordinary changes in space, identity, sequence, and logic without resistance. Dreams, therefore, often feel emotionally believable, even when they become physically impossible. This emotional logic appears repeatedly throughout dreaming. Fear may transform ordinary environments into threatening spaces. Longing may create endless searching. Curiosity becomes wandering through hidden rooms, strange landscapes, or mysterious cities. The narrative evolves according to emotional movement, rather than ordinary geography or practical limitation. Dreams seem deeply concerned with feeling and symbolic progression more than realistic continuity. Stories themselves often operate through similar principles. Myths, legends, fantasy literature, and symbolic storytelling frequently allow reality to bend around emotional meaning. Heroes enter enchanted forests, representing uncertainty or transformation. Time passes strangely inside hidden kingdoms. Journeys unfold through symbolic landscapes, reflecting inner psychological states. Dreams naturally generate comparable symbolic structures without deliberate artistic planning, because the sleeping brain already organizes experience through emotional association. Another fascinating aspect of dream logic involves identity itself becoming unstable during sleep. A person may suddenly become younger, older, or entirely different while dreaming without questioning the change. Dream characters may combine traits from several real people at once. Familiar faces shift unexpectedly, while emotional recognition remains strangely intact. The sleeping mind seems capable of maintaining emotional continuity even while identity becomes fluid and uncertain. Researchers believe memory association likely plays an important role in this process. During dreaming, the brain may connect people, places, and situations through emotional similarity rather than strict factual organization. Someone reminding the dreamer of authority may merge symbolically with a teacher, parent, employer, or stranger carrying similar emotional weight. The dream builds coherence through emotional connection rather than literal realism. This associative flexibility may also explain why dreams can feel strangely creative. Ordinary waking thought often filters unusual combinations quickly because practical logic keeps attention focused on stable reality. Dreams loosen many of these restrictions, allowing more distant emotional and symbolic associations to connect freely. A hallway becomes an ocean. A city becomes a maze. A house contains impossible hidden rooms. The sleeping brain explores combinations. Waking consciousness would rarely allow to unfold naturally. Children often display similar imaginative flexibility while awake. A blanket becomes a mountain landscape. A chair becomes a castle. An empty room becomes an entire imaginary world. Young minds move fluidly between symbolism, imagination, and emotional narrative because strict logical realism has not yet become fully dominant. Dreaming may reopen some of this same imaginative freedom beneath sleep, even within the adult brain. This may also explain why dreams sometimes produce insights, unusual ideas, or emotional realizations difficult to reach during waking life. The sleeping brain becomes more willing to connect distant concepts and emotional themes because practical realism temporarily relaxes its control over consciousness. Artists, musicians, scientists, and writers throughout history have often described dreams generating surprising imaginative combinations precisely because dream logic allows freer symbolic movement. Despite all this instability, however, dreams rarely collapse fully into meaningless chaos. Again and again, the sleeping mind still creates movement through changing emotional situations. Characters continue interacting. Questions emerge. Tension develops. Journeys unfold. Emotional consequence shapes the direction of the dream. Even when reality bends dramatically, the storytelling systems of the brain remain active beneath the shifting imagery. One of the most mysterious aspects of dreaming is how quickly dreams can disappear after waking. A dream may feel vivid, emotional, and fully immersive while unfolding during sleep, yet only moments later, the details begin fading almost immediately. Entire conversations vanish, faces blur, locations disappear. A person may wake knowing the dream felt important, while struggling to remember even basic events only minutes afterward. The strange instability of dream memory has fascinated scientists and philosophers for generations, because dreams can feel deeply real while remaining extremely difficult to hold on to after waking consciousness returns. Researchers believe this fading process may happen partly because dreaming and waking involve different patterns of brain activity connected to memory formation. During waking life, the brain constantly organizes experiences into stable memory systems shaped by attention, repetition, emotion, and conscious awareness. During this stage, however, the dreaming brain functions under very different neurological conditions, where emotional intensity remains high, while certain systems linked to orderly memory storage behave differently. This may explain why dreams often feel immersive while they happen, yet become difficult to preserve afterward. The emotional experience itself can remain powerful even while narrative details dissolve rapidly. A person may wake still carrying fear, comfort, sadness, curiosity, or relief from a dream, despite struggling to describe exactly what happened. The emotional atmosphere survives more easily than the precise sequence of events. Imagine trying to hold water in your hands while it slowly slips through your fingers. Dreams can behave similarly once waking consciousness begins returning. The more attention shifts toward ordinary reality, the faster the fragile structure of the dream may begin dissolving. Bright light, movement, conversation, alarms, or immediate responsibilities often pull attention outward so quickly that dream memory fades before it fully stabilizes inside waking awareness. Some researchers think the brain may prioritize waking reality so strongly after sleep that dream experiences receive less durable memory encoding unless emotional intensity becomes unusually powerful. This could help explain why certain emotionally significant dreams remain memorable for years, while most ordinary dreams disappear almost fully by morning. Another detail involves how dream recall varies dramatically between individuals. Some people remember dreams frequently with remarkable clarity, while others rarely recall dreams at all, despite still dreaming during sleep. Scientists believe differences in attention, sleep patterns, emotional sensitivity, personality, and waking awareness may all influence dream recall ability. The dreaming process itself appears nearly universal among humans, yet the ability to retrieve those dream narratives afterward varies widely. People who wake gradually during or immediately after REM sleep often remember dreams more clearly, because the transition between dreaming consciousness and waking awareness remains softer and less abrupt. In contrast, sudden waking, combined with immediate distraction, may cause dream memory to dissolve rapidly before it fully transfers into stable waking recollection. Timing, therefore, plays an important role in whether dreams survive beyond the first moments after waking. This fragile quality may partly explain why dreams sometimes feel mysterious or emotionally haunting even after most details disappear. A person may remember fragments, sensations, or emotional impressions without fully reconstructing the original dream narrative. Certain images may linger vividly, while surrounding context vanishes fully. The mind retains pieces of the dream, like scattered fragments from a fading story. Dream journals provide an interesting example of how quickly dream memory changes. People who write down dreams immediately after waking often capture details that would otherwise disappear within minutes. Many individuals become surprised reading old dream entries later because they no longer remember the dreams at all, despite once experiencing them vividly. This reveals how unstable dream memory can become once waking consciousness fully takes over. The fading nature of dreams may also influence why they feel symbolically powerful. Incomplete memory allows emotional impression and imagination to fill gaps afterward. A dream may seem mysterious, partly because it survives only in fragments carrying emotional atmosphere rather than complete logical sequence. The missing details create ambiguity, allowing dreams to feel open-ended and psychologically suggestive long after waking. Some scientists think dream forgetting may even serve useful biological purposes. If every dream remained vividly preserved alongside waking experience, the boundary between imagined narrative and ordinary memory could become confusing or psychologically overwhelming. Rapid dream fade-in may help maintain separation between internal simulation and the outside world, while still allowing emotional or cognitive processing to occur during sleep. At the same time, emotionally intense dreams can occasionally remain extraordinarily vivid across entire lifetimes. People sometimes recall specific dreams from childhood decades later because the emotional impact became connected to memory. These lasting dreams often involve strong fear, wonder, beauty, grief, discovery, or symbolic emotional experience, powerful enough to stabilize within long-term recollection. Nightmares especially tend to remain memorable because fear strongly influences memory systems within the brain. A frightening dream may become easier to recall precisely because emotional intensity helps preserve parts of the experience more effectively after waking. Positive dreams involving deep comfort, reunion, or awe can sometimes produce similar lasting emotional memory. Lucid dreaming creates another fascinating variation because dreamers who become aware they are dreaming while still asleep sometimes report stronger recall afterward. Increased awareness during the dream itself may help stabilize memory formation enough for more detailed waking recollection. These experiences continue fascinating researchers because they blur ordinary boundaries between dreaming and conscious awareness. Throughout human history, people have often wondered whether dreams contain hidden meaning beyond simple imagination or random mental activity. Ancient civilizations treated dreams as messages, warnings, prophecies, spiritual encounters, or symbolic revelations connected to unseen forces. Even today, many people wake from certain dreams, feeling they experience something emotionally important, despite knowing the events themselves were imagined. The powerful emotional realism of dreaming naturally encourages the human mind to search for deeper explanation and symbolic meaning within dream narratives. Modern science approaches dreams very differently from ancient spiritual traditions, yet researchers still recognize that dreams often reflect emotional concerns, memory processing, personal experience, and psychological association. Dreams may not function like secret codes containing one universal interpretation for every symbol, yet they frequently carry emotional patterns connected to waking life. The sleeping brain appears strongly influenced by fear, desire, uncertainty, attachment, curiosity, stress, and unresolved emotional tension while constructing dream narratives. This may explain why certain emotional themes repeat across many different dreams. A person feeling uncertain about the future may repeatedly dream of wandering through unfamiliar places. Someone experiencing pressure or anxiety may dream of impossible tasks, examinations, collapsing environments, or endless searching. Fear of separation may appear through trains leaving stations, disappearing crowds, locked doors, or losing sight of familiar people. The symbolic details vary widely, yet the emotional architecture beneath the dream often reflects genuine psychological concerns. Researchers studying dreams have found that emotionally important experiences from waking life influence dream content far more strongly than emotionally neutral events. Stressful conversations, major life changes, emotional conflict, excitement, grief, anticipation, loneliness, hope, or fear may all shape the symbolic direction of dreams during sleep. The dreaming brain appears especially sensitive to emotional relevance because emotionally charged experiences matter more strongly for memory, learning, adaptation, and survival. Imagine the mind as a storyteller quietly reshaping emotional experience into symbolic narrative each night. Rather than explaining feelings directly, the sleeping brain transforms emotional states into environments, journeys, conflicts, characters, and situations carrying symbolic movement through time. Anxiety becomes unstable landscapes, curiosity becomes hidden rooms, fear becomes pursuit, hope becomes discovery. Emotional life quietly transforms itself into story beneath sleep. Some psychologists believe this symbolic storytelling process may help the brain explore emotional concerns indirectly through imagination and movement. A dream allows consciousness to experience tension, uncertainty, conflict, or longing within symbolic conditions separated from waking reality. The dream does not simply replay waking experience literally. Instead, it reshapes emotional material into new narrative forms, carrying emotional resemblance rather than factual accuracy. This symbolic flexibility may partly explain why dreams often feel meaningful while remaining difficult to interpret precisely. A single dream image may connect to many layers of memory, emotion, and association at once. A house in a dream may reflect safety, childhood, identity, family, memory, or emotional change, depending upon surrounding emotional context. The dreaming mind organizes experience symbolically, rather than through strict logical definition. Some dream researchers remain cautious about assigning rigid meanings to specific dream symbols because individual experience matters enormously. A dog appearing in one person's dream may symbolize comfort and companionship while representing fear or danger for someone else, depending upon personal history and emotional memory. Dreams emerge from highly personal networks of association shaped by each individual life. At the same time, certain broad dream themes appear remarkably common across cultures and historical periods. Falling, being chased, arriving late, searching for someone, losing direction, discovering hidden spaces, or struggling to move all appear frequently in dream reports around the world. These recurring patterns may reflect common human emotional experiences connected to fear, uncertainty, survival, social attachment, identity, and change. Psychologist Sigmund Freud became one of the most influential early figures in dream interpretation during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Freud believed dreams often reflected hidden desires, unconscious conflict, and symbolic wish fulfillment emerging indirectly during sleep. Some of Freud's theories later became heavily criticized or revised, yet his work helped shift scientific and psychological attention toward the emotional and symbolic dimensions of dreaming. Carl Jung later developed different ideas, emphasizing symbolic archetypes, mythology, and deeper collective emotional patterns within dreams. Jung believed dreams sometimes reflected universal symbolic themes appearing throughout human storytelling traditions and mythological systems. Although modern neuroscience does not fully support all of Jung's theories, many researchers still acknowledge the strong narrative and symbolic qualities naturally present within dreams. Contemporary neuroscience tends to view dreaming through a combination of emotional processing, memory integration, social simulation, neurological activity, and associative thinking, rather than fixed symbolic decoding systems. Yet even modern scientific models recognize that dreams often carry emotional coherence shaped by the dreamer's experiences, fears, relationships, and psychological concerns. This emotional coherence may matter more than literal interpretation itself. A dream does not necessarily need one exact hidden meaning to reflect something emotionally real about the dreamer's inner life. The symbolic narrative may simply reveal how the sleeping brain organizes emotional material through imagination, memory, and storytelling during sleep. Dreams become emotional landscapes shaped by psychological movement rather than direct logical messages waiting to be solved like puzzles. Another detail involves how people often continue thinking about emotionally powerful dreams long after waking. Certain dreams linger because they connect strongly to unresolved feelings, memory, fear, longing, or personal identity. The emotional atmosphere survives even when exact details fade away. A person may forget the entire narrative while still remembering the emotional sensation carried by the dream. One of the strangest moments in human consciousness occurs when a person suddenly realizes they are dreaming while the dream is still happening. The dream world remains visible. Characters continue speaking. Landscapes stay intact. Yet somewhere during sleep, awareness changes. The dreamer understands that the experience is not waking reality, even while remaining fully inside the dream itself. This unusual state is known as lucid dreaming, and for centuries it has fascinated philosophers, spiritual traditions, psychologists, and neuroscientists alike, because it blurs the ordinary boundary between sleeping imagination and conscious awareness. Most dreams unfold without the dreamer questioning the reality of what is happening. Impossible events feel normal. Strange transitions go unnoticed. A person may suddenly fly, speak with someone long gone, or move between impossible locations without recognizing the dream state. During lucid dreams, however, some level of reflective awareness returns. The sleeper begins noticing inconsistencies or unusual details, before realizing the entire experience is unfolding inside the dreaming mind. Imagine standing inside a theater performance and suddenly realizing the scenery, actors, lighting, and unfolding drama are all part of a production while the play continues around you uninterrupted. The world remains emotionally convincing, yet awareness changes the relationship between the observer and the experience itself. Lucid dreaming can feel similarly surreal because consciousness becomes aware of dreaming without fully waking from sleep. Researchers studying lucid dreaming have discovered that certain areas of the brain associated with self-awareness and reflective thinking may become more active during these experiences compared to ordinary REM dreams. This creates a fascinating hybrid state where vivid dream imagery and emotional immersion continue, while aspects of waking-style awareness partially return. The dream remains active, yet the mind begins observing the dream from a more conscious perspective. Some lucid dreamers report using this awareness to influence or change dream events intentionally. A person may choose to fly, alter surroundings, speak intentionally with dream characters, or explore imagined landscapes with curiosity rather than passive participation. Others simply observe the dream quietly while remaining aware that the experience is internally generated. Even without full control, the realization itself often creates intense wonder because the dreamer experiences consciousness, watching itself dream. What makes lucid dreaming remarkable is how realistic the dream world can still appear despite this awareness. Visual detail, emotional atmosphere, sound, movement, and sensory experience often remain vivid and immersive. The brain continues generating a complete narrative environment while consciousness simultaneously recognizes the experience as a dream. This creates one of the most unusual mental states human beings naturally experience. Scientists remain deeply interested in lucid dreaming because it provides rare opportunities to study conscious awareness during sleep. In some laboratory experiments, lucid dreamers trained beforehand successfully signaled researchers from within dreams using specific eye movement patterns during dream sleep. Because eye muscles remain active while most body movement becomes restricted, dreamers could communicate limited signals outward from the dream state itself. These experiments demonstrated something extraordinary. Conscious awareness can emerge inside dreaming without requiring full awakening. The boundaries separating waking thought, dreaming imagination, and self-awareness may therefore be more flexible than once believed. Some researchers think lucid dreaming may reveal how layered human consciousness truly is. Ordinary waking awareness often feels unified and stable, yet lucid dreams show the mind capable of simultaneously generating immersive, imaginary worlds, while also observing those worlds consciously from within. The dreaming brain becomes both creator and observer at the same time. Lucid dreaming has also appeared throughout many spiritual and philosophical traditions long before modern neuroscience studied it scientifically. Certain Buddhist practices explored forms of dream awareness connected to meditation and consciousness training. Other traditions viewed lucid dreams as opportunities for spiritual exploration, symbolic insight, or disciplined awareness within altered states of consciousness. Modern science approaches these ideas cautiously, yet the long historical fascination with lucid dreaming reveals how unusual and emotionally powerful the experience can feel. Another fascinating aspect of lucid dreaming involves emotional response. Some people become excited immediately after realizing they are dreaming, causing the dream to collapse as waking consciousness rapidly takes over. Others remain calm enough to continue exploring the dream world consciously for longer periods. Emotional balance appears important because strong excitement may destabilize the delicate neurological state, allowing lucidity to continue. Dream characters inside lucid dreams often produce especially strange experiences. A lucid dreamer may recognize that every figure in the dream originates from the sleeping mind itself, yet conversations with those characters can still feel emotionally convincing and unpredictable. Some dreamers report asking dream figures philosophical questions or discussing the nature of the dream directly while remaining aware they are asleep. These interactions can feel deeply surreal because consciousness appears to split into multiple interacting perspectives within one internally generated world. Lucid dreaming also raises difficult philosophical questions about the nature of reality, awareness, and identity. During ordinary dreams, the mind usually accepts imagined experiences as real while they unfold. During lucid dreams, the dreamer recognizes the illusion while still experiencing it emotionally and visually. This creates a state where consciousness becomes aware of constructing reality internally in real time. Some philosophers have used lucid dreaming to explore broader questions about perception itself. Waking reality also depends heavily upon the brain interpreting sensory information into coherent experience. Lucid dreams reveal how convincingly the mind can generate entire worlds internally without outside input. While waking reality remains grounded in external physical information, dreaming demonstrates the extraordinary world-building power already present within human consciousness. Researchers continue studying whether lucid dreaming may have practical psychological uses as well. Some scientists investigate whether lucid dreaming techniques could help people cope with recurring nightmares by allowing dreamers to recognize frightening dreams while asleep and respond differently inside the dream itself. Others study lucid dreaming in connection with creativity, emotional exploration, or consciousness research. At the same time, lucid dreaming remains difficult to control consistently for many people. Some individuals experience spontaneous lucid dreams naturally, while others practice specific techniques attempting to increase dream awareness over time. Keeping dream journals, reflecting on dream patterns, and developing stronger dream recall may sometimes increase the likelihood of recognizing dream states while sleeping. As scientists continue studying dreams, one question remains especially difficult to answer. Why does the human brain create stories so naturally during sleep, instead of producing only disconnected flashes of sensation or meaningless neurological noise? Again and again, dreams unfold through characters, movement, emotion, tension, sequence, and symbolic transformation. Even the strangest dreams often carry narrative flow beneath their impossible imagery. This persistent storytelling tendency may reveal something fundamental about consciousness itself. Human beings appear shaped by narrative during waking life. People organize memory through stories. Families preserve identity through stories. Cultures pass knowledge through stories. Personal identity itself often feels like an ongoing narrative connecting childhood, present experience, and imagined future into one continuous sense of self. The brain seems naturally driven to link events across time through emotional story structure. Dreams may simply expose this hidden architecture more clearly than waking life normally allows. During the day, the world constantly stabilizes thought. Sensory information, social rules, schedules, responsibilities, and practical demands shape attention toward the outside world. During sleep, many of those stabilizing influences weaken, while memory, emotion, imagery, and imagination become more active internally. Yet despite this shift, the mind continues organizing experience through movement. The sleeping brain keeps telling stories, even when ordinary waking logic fades into darkness. Some neuroscientists think narrative may function as one of the brain's most efficient tools for organizing complex emotional and sensory information. Stories naturally create sequence, consequence, tension, memory, and meaning across time. Instead of isolated fragments, narrative connects experiences into understandable flow. This ability may have provided enormous evolutionary advantages because survival often depended upon remembering patterns, predicting outcomes, understanding social behavior, and learning from experience. Imagine early humans moving through dangerous environments where recognizing meaningful patterns could determine survival. A story about a dangerous river, changing weather, or animal behavior would remain easier to remember than disconnected facts alone, because narrative links emotion and sequence together into memorable structure. The human brain may therefore have evolved strong storytelling tendencies, partly because narrative organizes information so effectively. Dreams continue using these same systems beneath sleep. Fear becomes pursuit, curiosity becomes exploration, uncertainty becomes wandering, hope becomes discovery. Emotional states transform into situations unfolding through narrative sequence, because the sleeping mind naturally organizes experience into story. Even when dreams become fragmented or surreal, emotional movement still guides the narrative forward through changing symbolic environments. Researchers have also noticed that dreams often focus heavily upon social interaction. Human beings evolved as highly social creatures dependent upon communication, emotional interpretation, cooperation, attachment, and group survival. Dreams frequently involve conversations, conflict, reunion, misunderstanding, crowds, companions, guides, or strangers, because social narrative remains deeply important to human consciousness itself. This social dimension strengthens the storytelling quality of dreams even further. Stories almost always involve relationships between characters, because emotional experience and social connection lie near the center of human life. Dreams naturally generate similar story structures, because the brain remains strongly organized around emotional and social meaning, even during sleep. The sleeping mind fills imagined worlds with people, emotional tension, shifting relationships, and symbolic interaction, because consciousness itself appears fundamentally social in nature. Some philosophers have suggested that the human sense of self may partly emerge from narrative continuity. People experience life not simply as isolated moments, but as an unfolding personal story stretching across memory and time. Dreams reveal how naturally this narrative construction continues, even when waking awareness becomes altered or partially disconnected from the outside world. Another detail involves how dreams resemble improvisational storytelling. The sleeping brain does not appear to follow rigid scripts exactly. Instead, scenes evolve dynamically through emotion, association, memory fragments, and symbolic movement. One image leads naturally into another, Emotional tension reshapes environments and characters. Narrative direction shifts fluidly through changing situations. Dreams behave almost like stories invented moment by the unconscious mind. Children demonstrate similar imaginative flexibility while awake. A hallway becomes a cave, a chair becomes a mountain, a blanket becomes an ocean. Young minds move easily between imagination, symbolism, emotion, and narrative because strict realism remains less dominant. Dreaming may reopen aspects of this same fluid imaginative process beneath sleep, even within the adult brain. This flexibility may also connect closely to creativity itself. Many artists, writers, musicians, and scientists throughout history describe dreams inspiring unusual ideas, imagery, melodies, inventions, or emotional insights. Dreams allow distant associations to connect more freely because practical waking logic temporarily relaxes its control over thought. The storytelling systems of the brain continue operating while imagination becomes more flexible and exploratory. At the same time, modern neuroscience remains cautious about reducing dreams to one single explanation. Dreams likely emerge from many overlapping systems involving memory integration, emotional processing, neurological activity, social simulation, imagination, adaptation, and symbolic association. Yet across all these theories, one striking pattern remains constant because the brain repeatedly creates dream experience during sleep. Again and again, consciousness transforms emotion and memory into unfolding symbolic stories, moving through imagined worlds beneath darkness. For thousands of years, human beings have looked toward dreams with fascination, confusion, fear, curiosity, wonder, and deep emotional reflection. Ancient civilizations treated dreams as prophecy, spiritual vision, warning, or divine communication. Philosophers questioned whether dreams revealed hidden truths about consciousness itself. Scientists later studied brain activity, REM sleep, memory systems, and emotional processing, trying to understand what the sleeping mind is truly doing beneath darkness each night. Yet despite centuries of study, dreams still remain among the most mysterious experiences human beings naturally encounter. Part of this mystery comes from how fully dreams can absorb consciousness while they unfold. The dream world often feels real while it lasts. Fear inside nightmares feels genuine. Joy inside comforting dreams feels genuine. Strange symbolic journeys carry emotional weight, even when the events themselves become impossible or fragmented after waking. The sleeping brain creates experiences powerful enough to influence emotion, memory, mood, creativity, and personal reflection long after morning arrives. Modern neuroscience now understands far more about dreaming than earlier generations once imagined. Researchers know that REM sleep involves active neurological states connected to emotion, imagery, memory, and association. Scientists recognize that dreaming likely overlaps with emotional processing, memory integration, creativity, social simulation, and symbolic narrative construction. Brain scans reveal extraordinary activity unfolding beneath closed eyelids, while the body rests quietly asleep. Yet scientific explanation alone has never fully removed the emotional mystery surrounding dreams, because dreams feel personal. Every dream emerges from the emotional architecture of a unique human life, shaped by memory, fear, attachment, imagination, longing, uncertainty, curiosity, identity, and experience. The sleeping mind gathers fragments from across entire lifetimes before reshaping them into symbolic narratives, moving silently through darkness. Again and again throughout this exploration, one remarkable pattern has appeared because the dreaming brain keeps creating stories. Memories become journeys, fear becomes pursuit, curiosity becomes exploration. Emotional tension transforms into symbolic movement through changing landscapes filled with characters, conflict, mystery, reunion, uncertainty, or discovery. Even when logic loosens and physical realism bends, the sleeping mind still organizes experience into unfolding story structure. Dreams reveal that human consciousness may naturally think through story even beneath sleep itself. Despite all scientific progress, no technology can fully capture what dreaming feels like from inside the dream itself. Brain scans can measure activity. Sleep laboratories can monitor REM cycles. Researchers can study neurological patterns. Yet the private emotional experience unfolding within a dream remains personal and subjective. Each sleeping mind enters its own hidden theater of imagery, memory, symbolism, emotion, and movement beyond direct observation. Every night across the world, billions of people close their eyes beneath darkness, while hidden narratives begin unfolding silently inside sleeping consciousness. Cities disappear, oceans rise, childhood memories return, strange strangers speak, impossible journeys begin. Fear runs through shadowed streets, wonder drifts across unfamiliar skies, emotional worlds continue moving beneath quiet bedrooms while the body rests motionless in the dark. Thank you for listening to the Sleepy Mind channel. I hope you enjoyed learning about why dreams become stories during sleep.